If you thought punishments in Game of Thrones were bad, hold your horses, pal. From being boiled alive to being stretched out by a pulley, there were a lot of nasty medieval punishments, and they only get worse. Here are the 10 punishments not for the faint-hearted. Number 10, eavesdropping. Eavesdropping. How dare thy listen inneth. Yeah, eavesdropping. Can you believe that? We've done it at some point in our lives. Every time I hear somebody in our hall, I have to look out, take a peek, see who's walking by. But if you did it during the Dark Ages, well, there were some serious consequences that were waiting for you, you little spy. Eavesdropping was considered a serious crime. That's why they're always whispering in Game of Thrones. Now it makes sense, actually. The act of secretly listening on someone's conversation without their knowledge and or consent, well, this crime was viewed as a breach of privacy and trust and was often associated with other crimes such as treason or espionage. Yeah, espionage, all because you were, what's that? Punishments could include fines, public humiliation, imprisonment, or, well, remember what happened to Littlefinger in Game of Thrones? See ya. Number 9, the drunkard's cloak. I would wear this. This looks like a fun thing to wear. No one would bump into you in the halls or anything. You'd be good. You have your own space. The drunkard's cloak was also known as the barrel or the shaming cloak. I preferably like the barrel. It was a humiliating punishment used in medieval times for people who were drunk or disorderly in public. Now the person was forced to wear a large barrel or this cloak made out of wood or heavy cloth, something nasty, for little holes cut out for the arms and one cut out for your head. Sometimes with offensive messages or images painted on the barrel. Just says like, kick me on the back. You're like, come on, really? What are you, 10? The person would be paraded through town in this garment, often with jeering crowds, throwing garbage or, human feces at them. That's always a fun one back in the day. This punishment was intended to publicly shame the person and discourage others from engaging in similar behavior. And yeah, it probably worked. Hey, do you want to wear a barrel and get thrown at you? No? Great. Number 8, sensory deprivation. Sensory deprivation is still around to this day. That's how you know it worked back then. In fact, there's many who pay for it. They lay in a dark tub full of salt, then they float. Apparently it's a magical experience. I think that's a coffin with water. I'll never go in one of those. No thank you. Your senses are powerful, especially combined with water. So the dripping machine, water punishment, that was just all bad. It was the worst of the worst. Ice cold water would drip on your forehead over and over for hours and hours. It's one of the worst punishments back in the Dark Ages. Everybody's heard about this in some way or another. In medieval times, they would do it as well. The drops would be at different pace too, so you couldn't predict it. My toes are wiggling around while I'm talking about this. I hate water. I'm so anxious thinking about this water punishment. Number 7, the rack. Oh, big stretch for this one. The rack is surprisingly well known. It was originally introduced to the Tower of London around 1420. The Duke of Exeter referred to this device as his daughter. Yeah, what a weirdo, right? Absolutely. It was an open bed frame type device where your ankles were tied to the bottom and your hands were tied at the top. All right, now we're off to a horrible start. It was horizontal like a bed, but you would be hanging by the ropes, and these ropes were slowly tightened more and more, obviously causing some problems to all of your muscles and joints that usually hold things in place. This was done to extract information. This is one of the worst punishments on the list. Even getting tickled like this would be horrible. Anytime you're stuck like this with your hands in the air, it's over. That sucks. I'm making jokes because I'm that uncomfortable, so hit that thumbs up and let's spread some good vibes. We're not even halfway done our list here. This is gonna get worse and worse. Number 6, burning at the stake. During the Dark Ages, heresy was considered a serious crime against the church and state. The church and state. Punishments range from public humiliation to, well, just ending your life altogether right then and right there. See ya. Yeah, we may humiliate you or we may kill you. 50-50. Good game. The way you'd be punished in medieval times was exactly like what you saw in Game of Thrones. How terrifying, okay? If you were getting punished by higher ups, most of the time it was by burning at the stake, and it doesn't matter your age. That's all I'll say about that. Historical accounts depict the accused being paraded through town square before facing their fiery fate, serving as a warning to others as you pass by. Also, who the hell would watch this? Like, I get there's no UFC back then, but come on, like we gotta be a freak to watch this. Someone burning? Ew. Number 5, keel hauling. Keel hauling was reserved for the worst of the worst at sea, over yonder, over there. This was used by pirates for sailors who disobey orders and whatnot. The victim would be suspended by a rope with rocks or weights around their ankles. They're then lowered into the keel of the ship, into the sea where all the sharp barnacles live, all that nastiness, all that nasty, horrible stuff. And then they get dragged all around the boat up the other side. So water plus pain, plus you're under a boat for a hot minute. It's a lot. It's a deadly combination most of the time. Anything to do with barnacles in the sea, no chance. I'll tell you anything, Blackbeard. Please let me up. Number 4, death cage. If you're going to take a look at the punishments used in history, it quickly became clear that people of the past just liked watching others get hurt. That was their enjoyment. It was very strange, to say the least. And the death cage is just one of these many horrifying examples. And dare I say, it's a quite creative punishment used at the time. The worst pain imaginable, but make it really slow, and also in public. All these capital punishments are pretty quick, but what if we gave them a show? What if we did a slow one outside, up there, above an entrance? Why not? Yeah, they would strip the convicted down and lock them into an iron cage that was placed somewhere where everybody could see. High up, just above somewhere, above a torch, whatever, just up there, locked in there, no room, no food, no water, and everybody would just watch you as you slowly died in a bird cage. And if you think that's bad, it only gets worse. Just to make matters worse, the guilty would be covered in milk and honey so that they attract insects while they're in there stuck. Creative, but also how disgusting is that? Number 3, the stocks. The stocks were a common form of punishment in medieval times, as are all of these, obviously. The convicted person's ankles were locked into wooden boards with holes for the feet, then their hands were also sometimes restrained as well. A little goofy, if you ask me. They'd be left in a public place such as a marketplace or a town square, anywhere public because, well, as we've learned, shame, and we all love watching that. And if that wasn't bad enough, the accused would then be pelted with food or even physically attacked by the crowd. Who would waste food just throwing this? I would miss for sure. I would throw a pear and be like, do you have another one? So stupid. The duration of the punishment would vary, but it could range from a few hours to several days. Yeah, days of you getting locked up with your hands like this, getting oatmeal thrown at your head. It was used for various crimes including theft, drunkenness, and slander, and was intended to humiliate and shame the offender while also serving as a deterrent to others. Yep, I'd say it worked. Number 2, not reporting a dead body. This next one here is pretty obvious in theory, but the way that they handled it back then was pretty crazy. In medieval times, roughly around 1240-ish, just to wing it, just to ballpark it. The law surrounding the discovery of a dead body would vary depending on the region and the time period. But generally, if someone discovered a dead body, they were required to report it to the courts, or, sorry, the lords. Yeah, go tell your lord everything, guys. Go tell all your lords. Failure to do so could result in punishment as it was considered suspicious behavior. It's a little sus. I'll admit that's a little sus. Fair, more than fair. So more often than not, the person who found this body would then be asked to provide information about the circumstances surrounding their death, including any possible suspects. Yeah, take a guess. No pressure, detective. In some cases, the finder may have been entitled to a reward for discovering the body, but in most cases, you yourself would be charged with their death. Yeah, I'd be like, I didn't see anything, sir. I was just looking at space, wondering where we are, and it's dark times. Imagine like finding a body and you're like, I'm not gonna tell anyone because it's medieval times and everything sucks and everyone's horrible. And finally, number 1, amputation. Saying that in a YouTube voice is so funny. I'm like, amputation, like and subscribe. While amputation was not a common punishment in Viking society, there are historical accounts of it being used in extreme cases of punishment. Yep, pick an object, something's coming with us, pal. One example is the story of Orm of Lier, who was a wealthy farmer in Norway during the 11th century. Now Orm, old Orm over here, he was accused of multiple killings, including the killing of a chieftain, and was sentenced to have his hands and feet amputated. Gone. No more of those. You're just Mr. Nubs now. This was a severe punishment that was reserved for the most serious crimes, like killing a chieftain. It was intended to permanently disable the offender and prevent them, ideally, from committing that crime again. No arms or feet. You're gonna have to headbutt somebody to death now. It's gonna take forever. Another example is the story of, we don't need that one. No hands or feet. You know how hard that's gonna be to get around and grab things, and just gotta use your head for stuff? That's, don't steal. Don't steal. Not because this will happen, just don't steal in general, today or back then. There we go. Now we've learned today on Bumblebee. Those are 10 medieval punishments, not for the faint-hearted. I'm your host, Taylor McWaters, and we'll see you next time on Bumblebee. See ya. I'm like, brought to you by Arizona Iced Tea. Still 99 cents. In this economy, can you believe that? Makes no sense. Biggest can too. Idiots. If they did like 129, they could be good. Last one, I swapped these. I was like, that's not the last one. I hope not. But this next one here is pretty, sorry.
Yeah, I was sure.
Okay, cool, yeah, thank you so much. I was like, please? That's actually great. I was thinking the whole time.